Today we will talk about what will happen to your brain if you give up sugar for 21 days, 3 weeks. There are many videos about the effect of sugar on the whole body. Today we will talk about the brain. This is very interesting. This video uses data from a study in the journal Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. The results of the keto diet were investigated for 3 weeks. How it affects the human brain. In just 3 weeks. Incredibly, blood flow to the brain increased by 22%. Someone will say that this is not so much, but imagine that you, an athlete, you are involved in trouble, and someone has added 22% oxygen to you. Just think of the advantage that such a increase during the race. We are talking about a significant increase in the flow of oxygen and nutrients to the brain. If during the workouts reduce oxygen flow by 22%, will you feel it? Or, let's say you fall asleep, and someone reduces your blood and oxygen flow by 22%. Well, it's called sleep apnea. You will not get enough sleep and wake up feeling tired, but simply by reducing your intake. Carbohydrates, you will significantly increase blood flow to the brain. And something else. BDNF will grow by 47%. What's it? This is a neurotrophic factor of the brain. This is a protein that tells the brain to grow, repair itself, increase the number of connections, and create new nerve cells. It is also considered an antidepressant, helps protect against depression, as well as increase intelligence. 3 weeks without sugar and almost 50% more BDNF. It's unbelievable. What will happen in a month, 2 to 3 months, or a year without sugar? At the end of the video, I will talk about the results in a week, in 2 and in 3, as well as give simple tips on how to achieve this. But before we talk about the benefits of giving up sugar, first I will talk about what happens if there is sugar, especially in the brain. I think most people know that. Listed here, but many do not know this information. I've never talked about it in any of my video. This is interesting because it is widely known that when you eat sugar, blood sugar levels rise, as well as insulin is growing. I think many people also know that when sugar drops, you get irritated because your brain senses hunger, he doesn't have enough fuel, your mind is clouded. When I ate a lot of sugar in the past, I had it permanently. I had no idea what it was like to think clearly, and what it was like not to be in a fog. And yes, I was very irritable. Your sleep suffers too, so you can't get up quickly in the morning, you have to wake up for a long time. Anxiety, attention problems, poor concentration, not very good memory, mood swings. Usually you have a refund. Hunger an hour and a half after eating. How is this possible? You've eaten recently. It is illogical, but this is not a real hunger. This is a drop in blood sugar. And it's not that you don't have enough fuel. The problem is at the cellular level. After all, when the brain begins to depend on sugar, the brain begins to build a barrier to sugar, insulin resistance. And the more sugar you eat, and the longer you eat it, the less of that sugar will get into the cells. Brain and the whole body protects itself from this poisonous sugar. For example, in diabetics, not so much sugar gets into the brain. Therefore, they have a higher risk of dementia and memory problems. So many of these symptoms only say that fuel does not reach the cells. The cells are literally starving, not receiving fuel. Despite the abundance of food, it turns out that you eat a lot, but the fuel from the food is not delivered inside the cells. In general, if you eat sugar, you will often want to eat, and you will have a strong craving for sweets. I had such a addiction to sugar that I had to eat half a liter of ice cream every evening. Every evening, literally for machine. Even when you eat sugar, after that you see everything as if in a fog. Weird. If you've never heard that B1 deficiency can occur due to excess carbohydrates in food, be sure to listen to what I am going to tell you about now. This is extremely interesting, and it explains many of the symptoms that you may be, but you don't connect them to it. Many of these symptoms are very common. It seems that they are not related to each other, but they are all associated with B1 deficiency. Vitamin B1 or thiamine is one of the B vitamins. When you eat too many carbohydrates, the body's need for B1 increases dramatically. You need a lot of B1 to cope with all these carbohydrates. Let's say you have a car, you pour gasoline into it. You have the perfect ratio of gasoline to air, but the spark plugs don't work. The B1 is a spark plug. B1 is needed for fuel to burn. If you pour too much fuel into the body without B1, this fuel will not burn correctly, and energy will not be produced. Without B1, acetyl coenzyme A cannot be obtained. Acetylcholine, you cannot get ADP, and the nervous system will starve. After all, these cells have a fast metabolism, and they are highly dependent on B1, stronger than many other cells. This is why, of all the tissues in the body, it is the nervous system and brain that are the first to suffer from B1 deficiency. Excess sugar and carbohydrates deprive people of B1, but they don't know it. I'll list the bad consequences of this, and then let's talk about the positive effects of giving up sugar. Friends, subscribe to the channel right now, and click on the bell to turn on all notifications. Nisi. Select all notifications. YouTube may not remind you of new videos. With this simple action, you will greatly help further channel development. And we continue. One of the main victims of B1 deficiency is the autonomic nervous system. It consists of the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. The second is responsible for rest and digestion. The autonomic nervous system is controlled from the hypothalamus in the brainstem. And without B1, this part of the brain works worse. Then, this affects the whole body, because there is a problem in the brain, and everything else comes from it. Dry eye syndrome occurs. Why? Because tears do not pass through the lacrimal ducts. You may think that your eyes are dry from a lack of vitamin A and I need to bury something, but no. This is a B1 deficiency, a lack of air. It was like that for me. I didn't know what it was. Especially when I went to bed. I just didn't have enough air. I couldn't breathe. This is due to a B1 deficiency, and I was eating too much sugar. Bladder problems. You pee, but you can't empty the bladder. Men often blame the prostate, but in fact it is a problem of the autonomic nervous system. Because of B1, women have urinary retention due to bladder problems. They blame structural changes, the uterus and other things. No! The reasons are the same. They can lead to infection, tract, and the bladder will simply stop shrinking as it should. Heart palpitations, skipping beats, and up to a real arrhythmia. Culprit B1. After all, it works with the nervous system, which controls the entire body, including the so-called heart rate drivers, dizziness. Why? Because the autonomic nervous system controls adaptation to stress. And when you get up, the blood has to go up to your brain quickly, or you might get dizzy and fall. If it is a severe case, it is called pastoral orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And this is a serious deficiency of B1. When the autonomic nervous system is not working. Many have this problem to a mild degree. When they get up, you need a pause to bounce back due to dizziness. I had it, and I didn't know what it was. This is not normal, and it is problem with B1. The next point is low stress resistance. How many hot-tempered people do you know? You said something that kind of turns them on, and they explode. They have no patience. When there's a slow driver in front of them, they just go crazy. If such a person worked in a kindergarten and there a lot of children, and all of them have problems with blood sugar, he would not have endured it, although no one would have endured it. Stress resistance depends on the autonomic nervous system, and it depends on vitamin B1. The next point is anxiety. This is a state when you are stuck in anxiety and constantly think about problems more than necessary. If someone you know does not tolerate stress well, he has anxiety or nervous tension, give him some vitamin B1 or nutritional yeast, where there is a lot of B1. And after 3 to 4 minutes, this will have an overall calming effect. A person will relax and feel better. I've used this a lot in my practice and people have been amazed. They do not knew that it was a B1 deficiency. They thought that they had such a character, but this is not so. Further, insufficient REM sleep. This is the phase when the eyes move rapidly. It usually occurs in the second half of the sleep cycle. And without vitamin B1, this phase will not be complete. May occur morning insomnia, when for some reason you cannot sleep for all your 7 or 8 hours, your voice weakens. This is especially noticeable if you sing or record your voice somewhere, it weakens. It may be a matter of vegetative nervous system, dry skin. The fact is that the sebaceous glands are also controlled by the autonomic nervous system. This is more. 1 point. Next, digestion. Constipation or bloating may occur. The pancreas does not produce enzymes, which leads to bloating and constipation due to incomplete digestion. The next point is poor bile outflow. You can't fully digest fats. All valves and smooth muscles in the digestive system are controlled by nerves. And if this management deteriorates, that's it. Becomes weak, sluggish, and stops working. Blurred vision. People often think that vision deteriorates with age. But it can also be B1. And also restless leg syndrome. I had it because I ate a lot of ice cream, pasta, and everything. Such other things. This syndrome is just terrible. It mainly manifests itself at night, in the form of tremendous energy in the legs. You have to run to spend that energy. Just imagine how many different medications can be prescribed to you. Individual medications or supplements for each problem, while all of these have one common source, a lack of B1, and it hides only an excess of sugar in the diet. And it also does not fit in my head that the daily norm of B1 mg. It's just chickens. Mockery. This figure is only a preventive dose to prevent beriberi, an extremely serious disease that affects the heart and especially the brain. We need incomparably more B1, especially taking into account all the sugar in snacks, just to maintain the normal functioning of the organs. And all healthcare is based on this norm. But this information has long been outdated. It is difficult to make people healthy when nutritionists and doctors do not understand how much is needed for the normal functioning of the body. Not to mention making up for deficiencies, they don't use enough therapeutic doses of thiamine to solve the problem. With 1.2 milligrams, you won't eliminate anything from this list. That won't work. So what happens if not eating a lot of sugar and getting enough B1? Here's what. You'll be calm, you'll be focused. You will not have attention deficit disorder. You will be able to concentrate on projects and complete them. You won't stress. Even if there is a lot of stress around you, you will be able to tolerate all this. Stress resistance, in fact, is related to blood sugar. People with low stress tolerance usually eat too many carbohydrates. If you remove sugar from your diet, your body switches to ketones, your appetite decreases, and food cravings go away. In addition, you will think clearly, your thoughts will be clear, you will sleep well, which means that the next day you will have a lot of energy. You will wake up for real. For many, this is a new feeling. It's all about me now. And That's how I used to be during the day when I was awake. I was not cheerful. There was a fog in my head. I was half asleep. Now, if I woke up, I woke up. And when I sleep, I sleep. It's really great. You will be able to digest food. Internal dialogue will decrease, and you will have more control over your mind and your brain. Your endurance will increase. Ketones are a more efficient fuel. On them, the brain works more clearly and better. The biggest lie I have is a video about it. Is that sugar or glucose is the main fuel for the brain. No, it's untruth. The main fuel for our body is ketones. And I'll prove it right now with just one fact. If only the main fuel was glucose, you wouldn't be here. After all, in antiquity, for example, in the Stone Age, how many glucose was available to humans? Did people order pizza? Did they have snacks? Did they have refrigerators? No, at best they are. They ate once a day. And in order for the brain to survive, another fuel was needed. And that fuel was ketones. Kins are made from fat. And that's how we store fat. Therefore, between meals, the body works on ketones. This is survival mechanism. Sugar or glucose have never been the main fuel. They just weren't available. In my opinion, this is the best proof. Since then, our bodies have not evolved to live on pure sugar. When I say, remove the sugar, and also switch to keto, I'm not even asking to eliminate sugar completely. I say you can eat. Carbohydrates are no more than 50 g per day, and it is much easier than it may seem. You can eat carbohydrates, for example, berries. They are also found in some vegetables and fruits. And make sure that these carbohydrates are not in the form of sugar. Eat whole foods with fiber that is absorbed slowly. Did you remember to press the bell? There is one more hidden ingredient. Here he is. This is cornstarch. There are a lot of hidden carbohydrates in food now. Cornstarch, modified food starch, maltodextrin, or wheat flour. All this is industrial starch, which is essentially added sugar. If you add up all the starch and sugar, it turns out that we really eat a huge amount of sugar. We want it to be no more than 50 g in our diet, which means giving up juices and soda. You can drink water, tea, or coffee. There is high-quality animal protein, meat, eggs, fish. You can also eat vegetables. You can eat nuts. You can eat cheese, sugar-free yogurt, kefir, butter, avocado, olive oil. And what will happen if you eat like this? For the first few days, you will have a transition period when it may be difficult for you. But if you drink electrolytes and B vitamins, this transition can take only 2 to 3 days. After that, you will completely in ketosis. At the same time, your cravings for food hunger will begin to decrease. You'll notice that you're thinking more clearly, and your mood will improve. This is in the first week. In the second week, your energy will begin to rise. Suddenly there will be a lot of energy, sleep will improve, digestion will improve, and bloating will decrease. You'll notice that your skin looks better. If you have inflammation somewhere, it will decrease. 2. In addition, you will no longer have constant mood swings. Your condition will become stable and sustainable. In the third week, all these positive things will intensify even more, especially when it comes to weight loss and cognitive functions. And your mood and the feelings of anxiety and depression will go away, your appetite will decrease, and you will be. It is easier not to eat anything between meals. You might end up saying to yourself, that seems to be working pretty well. Will continue. And more details at the link below. Sugar is not just a habit, it is a real addiction. You feel the rise, then the fall, then the candy again. Cookies, cakes, buns, and so on in a circle. Why can't we just stop eating sugar? Products with sugar stimulates the hormone of pleasure, but the effect quickly wears off, and the brain requires a new dose. It's a vicious circle. Pleasure, decline, craving again. We break down, feel guilty, make new promises to ourselves, and everything repeats itself. This is not weakness, this is biochemistry. And to get out, you need a system. A sugar-free marathon is a step-by-step plan that helps to get rid of addiction. You receive 3 tasks per week. They take 15 minutes a day. Everything is served. Simple, without unnecessary theory. You implement one change after another and see the result. You are not alone. In a live marathon, chat, thematic discussions, and experienced curators who respond every day. Support is one of the strongest points of the marathon. In 8 weeks, participants get rid of sugar addiction, lose weight, restore sleep, get rid of edema, and feel different, lighter, calmer, more confident. Sugar keeps you going. Stronger than it sounds, but you can get out of the circle with support, knowledge, and one step at a time. Join the marathon without sugar can be found at the link below. Start changing yourself from the inside.